Well, hello, everybody. Happy noon Eastern time, wherever you happen to be. And welcome to my weekly global Facebook Live travel update. Peter Greenberg here. We're doing it Friday this week because I was traveling yesterday. Last week, I gave you a clue as to where I might be. Only one of you got it. I said I was going to be about, nearly 5,000 miles, a few thousand miles northeast of where we were. And I said it was a hot place. I thought that would be a clue. One of you got it. I'm talking to you right now from Reykjavik in Iceland. Of course, the hot place being the volcano, which is continuing to erupt. But Iceland is the hot destination, one of the first countries to reopen to American travelers. And we are here. And so is everybody else. It is a great time to be here, of course, in the summer. Iceland, an incredible location if you've never been here. I've been coming for about 25 years. So many changes, and thankfully, not so many changes, although the numbers are interesting. When I first came here, the number of visitors to the number of residents was about 1-to-1 on an annualized basis. Today, it's 7-to-1, and yet they've been able to manage growth and do it in a responsible way. I sat down and will be sitting down with the president of Iceland, and his wife, the First Lady, and you can hear that conversation tomorrow on our radio show, Ion Travel, so check your local listings. But first, let's talk about the news, and there's a lot of it. First of all, in travel news, the other reason why I'm in Iceland, it's the launch of the new Crystal Endeavor, their brand new maiden voyage on their expedition ship, only 200 passengers. But the interesting story there is, as they did in the Bahamas, in the wake of the CDC rules and also the state of Florida, Crystal has now home ported one of their ships in the Bahamas. That's the Serenity. And they're home porting their other ship, the new ship, the Endeavor, right here in Iceland. Great time of the year to do that based on where they can take that ship where the big ships can't go. Now let's talk about the news. Speaking of managing growth, not every destination has had a good shot at that. In Venice, the Italian government just 2 days ago banned all ships over 25,000 tons from entering the canals. That was long awaited, a huge bone of contention for the citizens of Venice, and also UNESCO, by the way, which was threatening to put Venice on its blacklist because of it. So effective August 1, that's coming up. The big ships aren't coming into the canals. They're not going to be towering over St. Mark's Square. And hopefully the bridge of sighs will no longer be the bridge of thighs, if you know what I mean. In Hawaii, though, we just broadcast from Kauai a couple of weeks ago. The mayor of Kauai was talking about his concerns about not being able to manage the numbers and the growth. Well, guess what? The mayor of Maui, and this is such an unplanned announcement when you consider a tourism-based economy, which depends on visitors. The mayor of Maui has actually made a public appeal to the airlines to reduce the number of their flights to the island because they can't handle the numbers. Most mayors would be spending most of their time trying to attract airlines. Right now, because of this perfect storm of bad planning, staffing problems, and huge pent-up demand displaying itself far earlier and far greater than people expected, they have a huge problem in Maui. So get ready for that. There will be textbook cases on Iceland, possibly doing it the right way, and Hawaii possibly doing it the wrong way, among some other destinations, as we move forward in covering COVID-19 and travel. Of course, I'm going to answer your questions here online today. If you miss me today, you can also email me to peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll answer either online or on the radio tomorrow. And I hope you'll get a chance to do that. Now, the other thing that's interesting is, and we talked about this before, about outrageous rental car prices that are up, by the way, 86% on average. They're actually higher than that in so many different markets. There's another thing that's happened that our good friend Gary Leff, who is on my radio show from time to time, he writes viewfromthewing.com, great website. So many rental cars were left parked in lots during the pandemic that were never used that now that they're coming back into circulation, the rental car companies have done a terrible job of keeping their registrations up to date. A number of renters have been pulled over by police with expired license plates, right? The tags aren't on. So one more thing you got to look at before you take the car out the lot. check to make sure that the registration's up to date by the rental car company. How ridiculous, but now you know. And cruise lines. Let's talk about what's going on there. Not just what's going on with Crystal here. Let's talk about what's going on with Viking here. The Viking Sky, one of their big ships, is got a problem. One of their passengers on a cruise to Iceland tested positive for COVID-19. And the authorities here will not let anybody off the ship anywhere in Iceland. They're going to have to quarantine on the ship for 5 days. That'll be interesting. A memory of cruises past from February and March of 2020. Well, I'm sure that the new designs of those ships will allow for isolation and quarantine in a very efficient way. But the fact remains, passengers who thought they were getting off the ship today are not. That's disrupting travel plans and flight reservations and all sorts of other ancillary aspects of their travel schedule. We'll stay on top of that. Now, Norwegian Cruise Lines, they have now sued the state of Florida, claiming that not allowing the cruise line to demand proof of vaccination for passengers to sail on their ships basically ruins their ability to provide a safe environment for the rest of their passengers. It's just one more court case that's continuing in the wake of the state of Florida's legislation signed by the governor that says you cannot require vaccination proof in order to give service, and they're going to fine any cruise line $5,000 per incident for violating that. So as this winds its way through the courts, what are the cruise lines doing in the meantime? Well, Royal Caribbean and Carnival have now announced that if you're not vaccinated and you want to take the cruise, you can do so, provided you provide medical insurance, at least $10,000 worth of medical coverage and $30,000 worth of medical evacuation and repatriation coverage. So there, that's the new price of admission. That hasn't been tested in the courts yet, nor by the state of Florida, but those are the rules as of today. So that's interesting too. Now, this is a story that I covered a long time ago. You may remember it. This weekend, in fact, tomorrow, marks the 25th anniversary of one of the worst aviation disasters in American history. That was the crash, the explosion in the crash of TWA Flight 800 that happened on July 17th, 1996. That 747 was flying from New York to Paris, and shortly after takeoff, it blew up at about 8,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean, and the plane, of course, disintegrated. All aboard were lost off the coast of Long Island and Fire Island. In fact, my fire department responded to that scene. It was one of the most intricate, intense, and complicated accident investigations in the history of aviation. As you may remember, the Olympics were just starting in Atlanta. People thought this was a terrorist act. It could have been a bomb on the plane like Pan Am 103 back in 1988. It could have been one of the conspiracy theories that launched, no pun intended, was that it was a missile fired inadvertently by the U.S. Navy during training exercises. Both of those theories were debunked relatively soon in the investigation based on the way the metal was bent, the striation marks on the metal, and the altitude at which the plane blew up, which basically exceeded the range of the surface-to-air missiles that they claim were fired. Those conspiracy theories still are around, I'm sad to report. Let me tell you what really happened. And you have to thank the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, for their unbelievable work on this, because it was painstaking. They led it back to the center fuel tank on that plane, on a 23-year-old TWA 747, in which the insulation of the wiring inside that tank had been corroded and stripped, parts of it, by the toxicity of the fuel over all those many years. And let me just give you an idea of what really happened. That plane had flown into JFK from Athens earlier in the day. It was a very hot day. I remember it well because I was there. It was about 97 degrees in New York. And because they flew against a headwind into New York, they used all the available fuel that they had, including the center fuel tank. Now, the plane had 3 fuel tanks, right? Left wing, right wing, center fuel tank. But on the return trip to Paris, They didn't have a full load. They were benefiting from a tailwind, so there was no need to fill the center fuel tank. They just filled the wing tanks. The plane was on the ground for a couple of hours in the heat. The APU, the auxiliary power unit, is located on the 747 somewhere close to the center fuel tank, and that was kept on all that time to be able to provide air conditioning to the cabin and the cockpit. And the temperature of the APU combined with the temperature of the outside air brought the temperature inside that center fuel tank to above its flash point. What's a flash point? It's the point at which any source of ignition will result in an explosion. Now, there was no source of ignition at that point, and normally there never would be because fuel tanks tend to be full. However, on that particular day, because they didn't need that extra fuel in the fuel tank in the center, they only filled the wing tanks. They left the center fuel tank with only about 70 gallons of jet fuel and the rest fumes. Now, no crash ever happens for any one reason. It's usually a combination of reasons that in concert provide a situation that can't be recovered, and hence the story of TWA Flight 800. As that plane took off from Kennedy on the evening of July 17th, when they got to about 5,000 feet, it was an old configuration of the aircraft. It was a three-man cockpit crew, pilot, co-pilot, and flight engineer. The flight engineer noticed that there was more fuel in the left tank than the right tank. Now, that's not a safety issue. That's just a performance and a fuel efficiency issue. So he alerted the captain, and the captain said, no problem, let's just balance it out. That meant let's pump fuel from the left tank to the right tank through the center tank. Standard procedure, nothing unusual about it. So they started the pumps in the left fuel tank to pump fuel into the center tank. About halfway through then, they turned on the switch at about 8,000 feet to pump fuel from the center tank to the right tank. And in that center fuel tank, where you had a wire exposed and not insulated, an electrical charge because you're turning on the pump, and half of that tank being filled with fumes, the wire sparked, the explosion happened, and the plane fell out of the sky. How did the conspiracy theory start? Eyewitnesses in aviation accidents tend to see things out of the sequence they remember. They think they see something before they hear something. In fact, they don't, because none of them were actually looking up at the time. They actually heard something first and then looked up. And by the time they looked up, the plane had already exploded. And what they thought they saw was a missile streaking towards the plane, was actually burning aviation fuel coming from the plane, streaking down. Hence the idea that it was a missile. It was not a missile. Plus, the maximum range of a surface-to-air missile fired by the U.S. Navy was about 1,000 feet under the actual altitude at which that plane blew up. So what did they do with the wreckage? They brought it back to a hangar in Long Island. They erected a skeleton, and over that skeleton, they painstakingly built the plane back so they could look at absolutely the way the metal was bent, the markings on the metal, the actual telltale signs of what an explosion might look like after the fact. And that's how they came to that conclusion. Now, we're 25 years later. It's not about the lessons learned or what happened. It's really about the lessons that have been applied. And thankfully, the FAA, which has never set records for speed in terms of enacting urgent safety regulations, in this case, they didn't win any awards either, because when we did the investigation, and I covered that story, we found similar cases of center tank fuel explosions on other airlines where the same ingredients were present. Luckily, those fuel tank explosions happened on the ground, not in the air, and nobody died. But they had the same ingredients and they had the same MO. And so they developed a system now to inert the center fuel tank so that there can't be another explosion. And that's just not on 747s, that's on any plane that is a center fuel tank. So good things have come out of that. And now, as we are in the 25th anniversary of this terrible tragedy, the NTSB has announced that that wreckage that had been assembled and used as a teaching tool, a training tool for so many accident investigators over the last quarter century, is now going to be dismantled. And out of respect for the families and crew lost on that flight, it's going to be dismantled and destroyed. No souvenir hunters here. But it served a very useful purpose, and hopefully those lessons will continue to be applied. And then, of course, there's one other thing we have to talk about today. another 25-year anniversary that happened 2 months before the TWA crash, in which the FAA moved incredibly slow. That was the crash of ValueJet Flight 592 in the Everglades. I'll give you the short term on this one. It was not pilot error. We know the catalytic reason: improperly stored oxygen canisters that were put in the cargo hold that caught fire and then created a fire that could not be controlled, melting the control cables. The pilots had no chance, and that plane corkscrewed into the Everglades at nearly 500 miles an hour. The largest piece of wreckage was like about this big. Another unbelievable investigation, and I'll be talking with the former lead investigator for the NTSB, Greg Feith, who I was with during that time, investigating that crash in the Everglades. He'll be on the show tomorrow as well, so please try to tune in. If you miss the show tomorrow, not a problem. It's a podcast that you'll be able to get right after. Of course, you can find that. It's called Eye on Travel. Check your local listings, and I hope you get a chance to see it, or I should say, listen to it. Now let's go to some of your questions. Oh, wait, I got one more thing to talk about. Nothing to do with travel, but I want to say thank you to the baseball commissioner. I told you it wasn't about travel, but I'm a purist when it comes to baseball, and these COVID rules about 7-inning doubleheader games and an extra inning game, putting a runner on second base to speed the ending. I'm sorry, that's garbage. And now the baseball commissioner tends to agree with that, basically saying that coming next season, those 2-game rules are going to go goodbye. Thank you very much. I'm still trying to come to grips with a designated hitter in the American League. I still don't understand that, right? By the way, speaking of the designated hitter rule, did anybody see what happened about a week ago in the Padres game in San Diego? Bases loaded. Remember, National League. The pitcher has to bat. And the pitcher, starting his very first game for the Padres, comes to bat, bases loaded, hits a grand slam. I rest my case. Get rid of the designated hitter rule. All right, we're now moving on to your questions. Let me scroll up here and see. I'm sure you've got a lot of them. Hello to Scott Cowan, Colin Casey. I leave from San Francisco to Paris in 6 days. So looking forward to any updates you have on travel to France. I have a two-letter answer for you. Go. You're going to be okay. Hello to Mia from Southern California. Sandy's saying hi from Charlotte. Hello, Bernice, wherever you are. Hello, Jew, wherever you are. Pauline Sims, enjoy. Mark Wexler. Yes, Mark Wexler is now trying to take credit for guessing Iceland correctly last week. I will give him credit and also share with you that's the only thing Mark Wexler has ever been correct about. I can hear him laughing now. All right. Stephen Graves says, pay your light bill. The reason why there's a dim light behind me is because if I opened the curtains, I would be backlit and you couldn't see me. Would you like that, Stephen? I know a lot of people who might, but that's the answer to your question. Raymond Bixson, hello, aloha, Peter, right back to you there in Bayshore, Long Island. Anne wants to know what is happening with vaccines on ships. Will it not be a requirement by December so I can cruise? The answer is, other than ships sailing from Florida right now, it more or less is a requirement. The Crystal Endeavor, you can't get on as a passenger without showing proof of vaccination and a test. And I'm leaving this weekend to go back to New York, and I have to be tested as well to comply with U.S. regulations. Okay, let's keep going here. Hello from India, from Amit. Patrick Cooney says hi. Hello from Alabama. All right, Sandy Mills. I rolled over my 2020 Alaskan cruise. If I have to book for next year, when should I rebook it? Well, here's the thing. They are having a sort of a limited Alaska cruise season this summer. Ships are sailing from both Seattle and San Diego nonstop. I would book the cruise now. Get it done, because it's coming back with a roar next year, and there's no indication whatsoever that the cruise lines are going to want to discount it. All right? Okay, Patty wants to know, what's the best day to buy domestic air? In the old days, it used to be 1 minute after midnight Tuesday night or 12:01 a.m. Wednesday morning. Now, for the moment, it could change. It's about anytime after 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. That's when all the full fare or business class travel has been booked. Not a lot of it. And the airlines know that, try to project demand and set pricing. And that's when the fares go down just a little bit, if they're going to go down at all. And by the way, Oh, okay. That was the answer to Patty's question. Okay, leaving for Rome on Wednesday from Sharon. Okay, good luck. We love that. Aloha from Idaho, says Rona. Thoughts on a 3-week trip to Italy in September? Worried about more restrictions from World Cup parades throughout Italy. Let me tell you something. Italy may have won the Euro Cup, okay? They're done celebrating. It's over. They're not going to be celebrating in September. Trust me, you'll be fine. Lisa says from Syracuse, okay. Hello, Joan Corliss, Jim Friedlander. Is Iceland experiencing the same shortages of workers in the hospitality sector that we are seeing in the U.S.? Yes. This is worldwide. We have a perfect storm here. I talked about it earlier this week on CBS News. We have a perfect storm of bad planning, staffing shortages, and pent-up demand that nobody thought was going to happen this fast. So, and it's happening here in Iceland. The magic month for travel normally is September. This year especially. Why? Because that's when these guys are going to come back to work. They're not going to come back until the fall. Lorena Jenkins says, if you're ever seated next to me where Biscoffs are being served, you can have mine. I'm allergic to cinnamon. Lorena, I gladly accept your proposal. I'm still on a Biscoff war with airlines that are only serving one of them and smaller amounts. And I thank you all for your responses. Obviously, I struck a chord. We have a lot of Biscoff addicts out there. I do not work for the company. I just love their cookies. Okay, Carol Rosenthal, just back from the south of France, had a wonderful trip. The COVID precautions are the same as the U.S. Wear a mask on public transportation, and 90% of businesses ask you to mask up when you enter. We also, it just happened in Los Angeles County yesterday, right? You got to wear masks indoors now because it had a spike in cases. We're going to get through this, but please play by the rules. Hello from Chicago, says Geraldine. Is the U.S. Pacific cruise from L.A. or San Francisco by Celebrity a good alternative for people who have an expired passport? Absolutely. You don't need a passport on those cruises. They're not going out of the country. They're not stopping in Canada. But you know what? Since you brought up the words expired passport, let me share something with you. It's getting worse and worse to get a new one or to renew one because the U.S. passport agencies, there are 26 of them in the United States, are overwhelmed, understaffed, and they have a problem, a huge problem. During the pandemic, they're all working from home, but you cannot physically process a passport from home. It doesn't lend itself to virtual. And so we're dealing with a backlog right now of new and renewal passport applications, 1.6 million of them. It's tough. If you apply for a passport today during using normal route, it's going to take you 6 to 7 months to get one. And if you want so-called expedited service, it's 12 weeks. There goes your summer. So if you're watching me right now and you either have an expired passport, Geraldine, are you listening? Or you have not had a passport, you want to get a new one, what are you waiting for? Apply now, and you might get your Christmas present, meaning the ability to travel with all the options you deserve as a citizen of the United States. Now, a number of House of Representatives folks are lobbying the State Department to add more employees at these at these U.S. State Department passport agencies. But you know what? They're not going to be able to catch up in time to save you for the summer. So, for those people who want to take that impromptu trip to Paris, where the airfare may be cheaper than going from LA to New York, you're not going to be able to get a passport quickly. So at least understand what you're up against. There's no reason to procrastinate any further. Send in that application. Okay, hello from Uganda again. Okay. Amit says there are over 150 hotels operating in Iceland, with a large portion located in the capital. By the way, to give you an example, when I was here in 2014, there were not 150 hotels here. There's been an explosion of hotels and really great hotels. The problem is, who's going to staff them? Even in good times. Only 300,000 plus people live in Iceland, right? Add that to the people, not working right now because they're getting some sort of a help and assistance financially, it creates a bigger problem. In the hotel I'm in right now, I've not seen housekeeping in 3 days. And I'm not showing you the rest of my room. It's a mess. Okay. Geraldine says, Napa or Vegas in fall, which one is better? I can't answer that. They're both very different, right? You don't go to Napa to gamble, but you can go to Vegas to drink wine. 25 of the top 43 sommeliers in America reside in Las Vegas. But other than that, I really can't make that comparison. I'd have to know more, Geraldine, about what you really want to do when you're there, other than drink wine or gamble. Okay. Anna says, are EU residents being denied entry to the USA if AstraZeneca vaccinated? If true, where is this documented? Well, I talked about it last week. I'll talk about it again. Nobody is being allowed into the United States from EU residency countries right now. But the big battle is during this task force that's been established between the UK and the US to determine when they're going to open it up and be reciprocal. There's an internal battle going on right now where the US does not want to recognize anybody with a vaccine from AstraZeneca or the Sino vaccine from China. And until that's resolved, they're not making any announcements. Now, President Biden, a few hours ago, after meeting with German Chancellor Angela, is basically saying they're going to have a decision soon. Remember, I've been talking about July 19th as a magic date for a long time. It's coming up. It's Monday. It's 3 days from now. There's going to be an announcement from the UK for sure about who they're going to let in over and above who they're letting in now. My understanding is US citizens who've been vaccinated will still not be on that list because they're waiting for reciprocity from us. And until they resolve the AstraZeneca and the Sino vaccine issue, nothing's going to move. So stay tuned. Okay. Sandra says she's from Brimley, Michigan. The UP is stunning this time of year. It is. The Upper Peninsula in Michigan is absolutely gorgeous. Hello from Yorba Linda. Hello, Angela. Colleen thanks me for my TWA 800 explanation. Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate those nice words. And by the way, listen to the radio show tomorrow when I talk to Greg Feith, the former NTSB investigator, who really elaborates on both that crash and ValueJet 592. Okay. What do I think about how Viking is handling the current COVID case on board the Sky in Iceland? It's not how Viking is handling it. It's the authorities here in Iceland. They're erring abundantly on the side of caution and not letting anybody off the ship until they quarantine for 5 days. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that there are a lot of talks being had at the uppermost levels of the country to determine policy here. Okay. Scrolling back up again. Hold on. We got much more to talk about. Hold on. We got more. Okay. Howdy from poorly run Texas. So that was you, Catherine, not me. Tanya says, what was required upon arrival into Reykjavik? Was it simply your vaccination card? Yes and no. I had to get a barcode. The barcode came from making an application, certifying certain things, showing my proof of vaccination, and then I still have to get tested in a few hours now to be able to comply with the 72-hour rule to go back to the United States. Anne wants to know, what is the new passport situation? Passport mailed May 1st has not been returned, and my son has a trip to Mexico in 4 weeks. That's what I was just talking about. He may not go. That's how slow it's been. Okay, Elizabeth says, hi from Ocean Grove, New Jersey. Hot out on the beach. Well, it's not hot out in Iceland. It's just gorgeous. Okay. Oh, here's one from Linda. Taking the California Zephyr from Chicago to San Francisco in November. Can't wait. Linda, I wish I was on it with you. I'm a huge fan of long-haul trains. And we wait to see what Amtrak's going to do with all their money, assuming the infrastructure bill passes. And let's hope they spend it wisely. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I saw that information already. Oh, Scott says Costa Rica next week. Good place to travel and leisure right now. Yes. Keep in mind they have a very strict insurance requirement that you're going to have to buy insurance that will cover you for COVID-19 before they'll let you in. So check with your travel agent or your airline to make sure you're in compliance on that. Okay. Chris Baker. Hello from San Francisco. We had a record low high daily temperature on Tuesday, 53 degrees. Question, I'm flying to San Diego tomorrow morning at 9:30. I have a national car rental reservation. What do you think the chances are my car will or won't be there? Well, here's how you find out. Get the exact direct phone number of the rental car location at National where you're picking up your car. Call them today. Here's a new concept. Pick up phone, talk to human being. An internet confirmation means nothing, right? I mean, how many times do I, even on my own research, if I want to find out how, about a restaurant, the only reason why I go on the website is not to read the fake reviews. It's to get their phone number to make sure they didn't burn down last night. Same thing about finding out if your car is going to be there, right? Conversation, do it. Okay, Mindy wants to know projections for Italy early fall. Are locals immunized? Here's the deal. We have morphed in our metrics. We are less concerned with the vaccination rates of where we're going, other than the vaccination rates of the people who want to go. Because if we were going to base our travel destinations now on the vaccination levels of the destinations population, we'd be barricaded suspects at home. I was just in Tanzania where the vaccination percentage is less than 6%. I played by the rules. I masked up where I needed to. I was already vaccinated. Nothing happened. But you need to know that. Okay. Hi from Reno to Melissa. Prediction for Europe in the spring. It's going to be just fine, right? I think so. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Uganda is open to tourists. By the way, Chris reminds me of that every week. So thank you for that. All right. What's going on with Jetblue? They make changes, tell you to manage online, and their website doesn't work. Of course, there's a 3-hour hold time, even at 3 a.m. I hear you. You know what makes me even angrier? Remember this next time you get on the phone trying to call an airline. They're going to tell you that all of their agents are busy helping other customers. They may even tell you what the wait time is going to be, or that they might even call you back. And then they ask you to stay on the line. This is absurd now. They ask you to stay on the line to complete a survey on their service. I've just completed the survey. Your phone system sucks. Why would I stay online longer to tell you that? Stop asking me to take surveys and tell the people taking the surveys to answer the phone. That would eliminate the need for surveys because you know what the answer is going to be. I just gave it to you. I'm not angry about that, all right? Nah. Yes, I am. All right. So the answer thing about JetBlue is there is no answer right now. I even went to the counter in LA the other day, and it took them 25 minutes to figure, and I was the only guy in line. And it took them 25 minutes to figure it out because the guys who were working there didn't know how to operate the system. And when they went to pick up the phone to call someone, they got put on hold. Okay, going back up here a second. Hold on, I'm scrolling more again. Okay. Can I purchase a ticket through the Turkish Airlines site? Yeah, you can. I do it all the time. But remember, not all the inventory is on that site. Go to other online sites as well, compare prices. Then go to the Turkish website, right? And remember, you'll see on the Turkish Airlines website, for even a coach ticket, there are 3 different kinds of tickets. Be careful what you pay for because you may be paying more if you go to the lowest price ticket because now you're paying for bags. So check it out. But it's a good website. Have I heard anything, this is from Willie, about the mask mandate on planes being lifted? Yes, I have. Not till September 13th. That's a decision date. It's not going to happen before that date, I can assure you. Joseph says he's listening from Kenya. Jumbo. All right, let's keep going here. Test still needed after the 19th for vaccinated travelers to Ireland. Yeah, we haven't changed the rules. If you're talking about the tests going or the tests coming back. Right now, nothing's changed. Okay. Let's keep going. All right. Whoops, I lost a few people here. Hold on, I'm going back up. Since you said, this is from Geraldine, since you said what airline food when flying, what do you eat on long-haul flights? That's easy. Grapes, apples, bananas, and when certain people aren't looking, Swedish fish, and you already know I'm bringing on a case of Biscoff cookies now. So, sorry. All right. Let's see here now. Oh, all right. Hello from Orlando. Got back from Costa Rica last Friday. A lot of paperwork, but worth it. There you go. You got to fill out the forms. Still a great place to go. Scott wants to know, what is my experience with Amtrak? Thinking of taking from Chicago to New York. If you've got the time, Scott, I'd do it. I love the trains. I love Amtrak, even with all of its faults. The one thing I got to warn you about is their timetable is a problem. And the timetable is this: Amtrak doesn't own the tracks. So you're going to find out on that Chicago to New York trip that you're going to be pulling off every once in a while the sidings while this 100-car freight train comes lumbering on through. Just be aware of that. So your odds of an on-time arrival in New York, if it says, for example, that your Chicago to New York train is going to land at 6 p.m., don't plan dinner that night with friends. It's probably going to get in between 8 and 9 because you got to build in those delays. But other than that, love the train. Okay, here we go. Hold on a second. Listen to this. Geraldine says, thank you for the advice on car rentals. We called the local rental company to confirm and found out they don't have a car for me, even though we have a confirmation. So we looked for another rental and literally talked to them and guaranteed the car the following day. That was my husband listening to me. And that was Geraldine listening to me. So thank you. All right. Okay. Willie had a great time in Puerto Rico last week. And my listen to this from Mike Lukens. My friend who's on board the Sky, the Viking Sky, says they might stay on another week. I bet Viking will put you on too if you want. I would love to do it, but I have a flight to catch. Lorena says, I thought fruit was confiscated with customs or TSA. No, that's not customs or TSA. That's U.S. Department of Agriculture if you're flying into the U.S. If you're flying out of the U.S., unless you're flying out of Hawaii, take whatever fruit on the plane you want. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to the photo of the week. I almost forgot. The photo of the week winner is Gary Garfield. Let's post that right now. It's coming up. Where do you think that picture was taken? I know, because I was just there. He was visiting a Maasai village in Tanzania. We observed one of the elders making fire in his hands using dried grasses and small sticks rubbing together. The shot was taken with a Canon. Very special moment in our travels. Love the photo. Congratulations, Gary, and thanks for the story. I appreciate that. Some other questions that you sent in. When in 2022, this is from James, do I think Australia will be open for vaccinated Americans? Well, it's certainly not going to be open for vaccinated Americans in 2021. The dates keep sliding. I kept hearing February. Now I'm told March. But I'm looking for the first quarter. Fingers crossed. William, is there any way around a non-refundable ticket? Yeah. Here's the way around it. If the airline cancels your flight, remember the DOT rule. You're entitled to a full refund for everything you paid for that ticket, even if it's non-refundable, if the airline canceled the flight. If you cancel the flight, the change fee on non-refundable tickets like basic economy will kill you. Okay. Peter, you responded and confirmed in your Facebook Live that it's true that EU residents vaccinated will be denied entry. Can you? Oh, it's the same question you just asked. I think I answered that. When should I book Japan for next year? Well, guess what? Japan just banned all spectators from the Olympics this year, not just foreign travelers, but domestic as well. So empty stadiums everywhere. That'll be interesting. They just got to get through the Olympics this year and their cases. So I don't think we're going to get a real interesting answer about Japan, about what they're going to be doing in 2022 until November. I mean, but that shouldn't stop you from booking it next year. Book it now because the prices are low. Just remember, though, if you're going to book it, make sure you come up with a mutually agreeable definition of terms with the travel provider so you know what your refund rights are if it gets canceled. Otherwise, you're in the same predicament that millions of Americans were last year. Okay. Traveling to New Orleans from Pennsylvania the last week of September. When should I buy my airline ticket? Well, normally I tell you to buy it now. I would wait about another week or two so that we know that by September 15th, prices are going to drop. They're not going to go back up domestically. Kids will be back in school. People will be back at work. That's the trend, right? But the algorithms haven't been set yet. So wait another week to 10 days, then buy your Pennsylvania to New Orleans ticket, okay? Let me see if we've got any more here. We do. All right. Will the EU lock down again this winter with the Delta variant? Hesitant to book my holiday travel. The lockdown in most of the EU countries does not apply to you. It applies to the people who live there, right? I'm going to go to another country next week. I'm not going to tell you where because I'll give it away, but it's somewhere there in the EU, and they have a lockdown now, but it's not stopping me from going, right? There's the difference. If you're carrying a U.S. passport, you've been vaccinated, you can go. Jerry says, what's the deal with Norwegian Cruise Line in Florida? Simple. Norwegian cruise lines are angry at the state of Florida. They are claiming that it's harming their ability to provide a safe environment for all their passengers if they can't require passengers to prove they've been vaccinated as a condition of entry on the ship. It's as simple as that. This will get resolved in the courts one way or the other. Let's see if we have any more. We do. Hold on a second. Okay, here's one. Oh, I'm going to go back here. Here's one from Amit. More than 1 million people used to visit India every day. What we could do for their memorable and happy visit to India. I'm giving my efforts for this purpose and love insights. I couldn't agree with you more. The revenue from travel basically lifts the economy. It provides jobs. It puts food on the table. And the earlier we can get back, and the earlier we can spend our money responsibly and follow the money so we know it goes back to the very people in the community who need it the most, I'm all on board. But India is going to take a little while to get organized, which, is the same case in Thailand. It's the same case in many other countries around the world. They just haven't gotten a handle on it. Lindy wants to know, why doesn't the U.S. build double tracks so Amtrak doesn't have to wait for a freighter? Well, I wish I could tell you about the physics and the geography and the ownership of tracks. They don't exist. The freight trains own those tracks. You can't just widen tracks. What happens to the tunnels? What happens to the overpasses? What happens to the right-of-way rules in every different community? The biggest problem we have right now with the idea of high-speed rail, remember, they want to do it in California on a north-south corridor, is every mayor says, yes, we want high-speed rail. We're all in favor of it, 100%. Oh, yeah, but the train has to stop in our city. So they've immediately turned the high-speed train into a local. We got to get over the politics before we can ever get into the tracks. And that's a sad story, but it's the state of affairs. Okay. From D. Decker, we will be in Lucerne and Amsterdam next month before and after a river cruise on the Rhine and the Moselle rivers. I've been on both. They're great. Been reading about Amsterdam having high COVID cases. Do you think it will be a problem in either Lucerne or Amsterdam? Right now, again, it's not the level of cases we're concerned about in the destination. It's the level of vaccination of the people who want to go. That's where we are right now. That's why those countries are opening. And as long as you wear masks on public transportation, as long as you wear masks when asked to wear masks by local, cities and regions, you'll be fine. Okay, I'm going down a little more. Okay. Hi from Boynton Beach, says Roseanne. Want to let you know the first cruise out of Florida on Edge, the Celebrity Edge, which I'm sure many of you saw covered on television, was wonderful and no masks are required for vaccinated passengers. Children were supposed to wear masks, but it wasn't enforced. Captain Kate said hi, and she was disappointed you weren't on board with us. Me too. Captain Kate's amazing. If you ever want to see the piece we did on Captain Kate, we'll post it on our site this week. She's an amazing captain, an amazing role model, and anybody who's ever cruised with her has nothing but the best to say. They have a great experience, masks or otherwise. So Roseanne, thank you for sharing that. We appreciate that. And bottom line, guys, again, listen to the radio show tomorrow where I'll be talking to the president of Iceland and the first lady, as well as Greg Feith, the former lead investigator of the National Transportation Safety Board, on both ValueJet Flight 592 and TWA Flight 800, both of those terrible, tragic incidents happening 25 years ago this month. Email me with any more questions that you've got, peter@petergreenberg.com. Our website, of course, petergreenberg.com. If you missed the radio show and just want to listen to it stream live, if you don't have it in your neighborhood, go to our website, hit the radio icon. We're on as of 10:05 Eastern time tomorrow for 3 hours. So check that out as well. And if you ever get a chance to come to Iceland, You got to do it. I mean, it is an amazing country that has managed its tourism well. I can't say that enough. And if you're worried about social distancing, look at the map. It's baked in here. You're not going to be crowded and standing on any lines unless you want to go to the hot dog place near here, which is legendary. And I don't even eat meat, but at least I have to acknowledge it. Again, greetings from Iceland. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Bye, everybody.